guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to talk about all of the books that are on my TBR for the rest of the year. Here's how this came about. I was talking to my friend Krista over at Books and Jams. I'll leave her link down below. And she had mentioned that she took another look at her goals for the year. And I think she did like a goals follow-up or check-in and stuff. I'll leave that video link down below. But she was checking in for the year, kind of, 3/4 of the way through the year, basically, and seeing how she was doing on her goals. And she was like, I'm doing well. I think I'm going to meet all these. And then I was like, I should look at mine. Bad idea, guys. Bad idea. Because I realized I'm not really on track. But then I realized, but I could still do this. I wasn't so far behind on some of my goals that I wouldn't be able to reach them. I would just need to make a decision and make a commitment to do it for the rest of the year, and then I could. So that's what I decided to do because I really do want to reach my goals. I set them. I obviously want to reach them, right? A couple of them I'm okay on, but there was a couple that I just went, oh, I'm not going to reach that if I don't concentrate, if I don't focus on it, basically. So I ended up really just pulling everything that I needed to read in order to reach these goals because some of them are very specific books. And now I have my TBR for the rest of the year. It would average out to about 10 books a month for the next 3 months, which is lofty, I think, but also I think I can do it. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm challenging myself to do that. Okay, the first of my goals that I'm definitely concentrating on is my 21 books I want to read in 2021. I have read some. I'm currently reading 2, so I'm not counting those because I'm currently reading them. And I do have 8 books left on that list to read for the rest of the year. So I have 8 books to show you off of that list. So that was the first thing I kind of gathered. I was like, okay, I really want to knock this list out. So I went around and I gathered all those books and I put them in a pile. And then I have my October TBR for the books that Bobby from Bobby Reads picked for me. I will leave her link down below as well, but she picked 5 books for me to read in October, and I have those piled as well. I am currently reading 1, so I'll show you the other 4 on that list. I do not think I'm going to be able to get all of them read in the month of October, but I will let it bleed into November because I will read them. Like, they are on my TBR, so I'm not going to not read it just because I don't get to in October. I'm going to keep on going with those, so those will be read. So for the Buzzword Readathon, which is something that I had set as a goal, is to read 1 book for each buzzword. Now I have 4 months that I need to read for. So September, October, November, December. And I went ahead and just counted them all. I'm not worrying about whether or not I'm reading them during that month or not. As long as I read them, then, before the end of the year, I'm counting it. So I have 4 books for that. 2 of them are on other lists here. So one of them is going to be a series I'm reading, and then one of them is going to be from the 2021 books that I'm reading. 2 of those books in those piles will count for this because they have titles that coincide. So I'm kind of making that count, but I do have 2 extra books that I did pull to fulfill those prompts. Speaking of series, I do have a series that I'm reading through this year. And so I have all of those sitting here as well. And then I do have 3 Book of the Month books because in the beginning of the year, Lindsay and I, for Booklist Thursday, did a highlight of our Book of the Month books and picked 5 that we wanted to read this year. And we're going to do a follow-up on what we thought of those books at the end of the year. And we checked in with each other, and I still have 3 of those books to read. So those got pulled. I need to read those. I kind of forgot about that video, to be honest. So when we realized it, we were like, oh, we should do that. We should follow up on that. So I pulled those as well. And I still have 2 more 5-star prediction reads to read as well. We're doing our follow-up in November. We actually pushed it back a little bit because of me, because I'm behind. I am behind on that, but I still have 2 more books to read for that. So yeah. Okay, so we are going to go through these books by category, basically. And I did this on my phone as well. I created a note on my phone where I listed the category and each book in it with like a little checkbox so that I can check them off as I read them because I'm a sucker for a checklist. It motivates me. I want to make those check marks. So we're just going to go through them by category. And here's what I plan on reading for the rest of the year. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the categories that are listed on my phone here. So my first category I actually have currently reading. I'm not going to show you those because I'm currently reading them, and probably by the time this video is up, I'm going to finish some of those. So I'm not going to count those in this video. Like if I'm currently reading it, I'm just not going to count it for right now because it'll get done really quickly here. So the first category is the series that I'm reading, and that is the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer. Now I have read Cinder and Scarlet already. Next one coming up that I'm going to actually start reading in the second half of October is Cress, which is the one I'm super excited about. This is a science fiction young adult fairy tale retelling series, and it follows different characters for each book. You do need to read them in order because all of their storylines connect. So like if you go into book 3, you're going to be lost if you don't read book 1 or 2. But this follows like Disney princesses kind of, and it's a science fiction retelling. They're in a sci-fi world. It's really, really cool. The first one is Cinder, follows Cinderella. Second one is Scarlet, follows Little Red Riding Hood. This is Cress, follows Rapunzel. There is a novella called Ferris that I'm going to read after Cress. This follows Queen Lavanna, who is basically, I think, like the evil queen. She's very vain. And then the last book in the series is Winter. This one follows Snow White, so I plan to read this one in November. And then I do want to follow up and read Stars Above, which is a collection of novellas that follow different characters in the story as well. Some of these novellas are included like in the backs of these books, but I'm not reading them along the way. I'm going to read them in this bind up here that I have. So all of these will be right before the end of the year, and I'm reading these with Krista and Amanda, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah. And Winter is actually going to fulfill one of the buzzwords, which is a day, month, or season in the title. Winter is a season, so I'm going to count this for that as well. Okay, my next category are the books that Bobby picked for me for the month of October. I'm currently reading one of them, so I'm not going to show you that one because I'm currently reading it. But the ones that I still need to read are Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is an adult fantasy book. Assassin Nuns, yes please. This one's going to be, I think this is going to be one that I might have to take my time a little bit with, but I'm excited to read it. Really want to read this trilogy, so she's giving me the push to finally just pick up book 1. The next one is Rose Madder by Stephen King. I may end up listening to this one, to be honest. I've heard the audiobook is good, and I know it's available on Scribd, so I may go ahead and download this one and listen to this one, but I just read a Stephen King and really enjoyed it. I want to get more into his work for sure because he has such a huge backlist, and this is her favorite Stephen King, and she recommends it all the time. So, and she sent this to me. But yeah, so this one too. Another one that she sent to me is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is an author I've been wanting to try, and I don't know why I haven't picked up any of his books, but they all sound intriguing to me. And I finally have a physical copy of his books. I think I have his newest one from NetGalley, so I do have that one on my Kindle. And once I read that one, I'm probably going to want a physical copy, but I have a feeling Grady Hendrix could be a favorite author of mine if I just flip and read one of his books, right? So this will be the first one I read. Bobby also sent this to me. Bobby, you are such a sweet, sweet, sweet person. I love it. So yeah, this is also on the list. And then the last one from Bobby is God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. And I just read Empire the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. So I'm waiting for this one till probably last so I can give myself a little bit of distance from that story and then go into more of his work because they're going to have very similar feels. They're very dark, very grim feelings for these books. So this is book number 2 in the Nevernight series, which I've been meaning to get back to for so long because I loved Nevernight so much and I want to get back to it. So she finally was like, pick up the dang book, Sarah. So I'm picking up the dang book. Okay, next is this basket. And this contains all of the books I still have to read in my 21 books I want to read in 2021 list. There's 8 of them. And I'm going to show you all of them. They're all physical and they're all here. So we're just going to start from the beginning. First one is Helter Skelter. This is by Vincent Bugliosi and Kurt Gentry. And this is a nonfiction book about the Manson murders, Charles Manson, the big famous murders that happened in the 60s with Sharon Tate and all that. I know about those murders and I have a vague understanding of what happened, but I've never really dove into that case or dove into what exactly happened. So I'm really interested to read this to see. I'm a little nervous about this one because this book scared my mom, and my mom doesn't scare easily. So I'm a little a little scared of that. I think I scare a little easier than she does, but I'm still really interested in that case and in exactly what happened and how he got people to follow him. That's the most fascinating thing to me, is how did he get people to flock to him like a prophet? I really want to find out exactly how all this happened. It's just crazy to me. So this will be on the list for sure. A little bit of a different take here. We're going to go middle grade. So I have The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chinani. This is the first book in a 6-book series, I believe. And this follows 2 girls who live in a world where you go to one of 2 different schools. One is the school for good, one is the school for evil. They believe they know exactly where they're going, and it's a shock to them when they get switched, and one who thought she was going to the good school goes to the evil school, and vice versa. And so it just kind of throws everything off for them. My daughter read this book and really enjoyed it. She has the entire series, so I'm excited to read it and see what I think. And yeah, so middle grade would be nice to kind of go into some of this, in between some of this heavy stuff for sure. Next, Verity by Colleen Hoover. I cannot believe I haven't read this, you guys. I can't believe I haven't read this. And this one is self-published. She published this herself, and now I have heard that it's been picked up by a publisher, so it's going to get reprinted and, re-released, I guess, if you will, through a big publisher. So that's very exciting for Colleen, but I have heard nothing but good things about this book, and that once I start reading it, I'm not going to be able to put it down. It's not super long, but Colleen is always like that for me. Once I start one of her books, I don't want to put it down. So I know that I can get through this really quickly if I just pick it up already. Next one is Coming Apart. Next one is The Islanders by Meg Mitchell Moore. Now, I put this one on my list because this was a book that Lindsay sent me for our Christmas book exchange, and I wanted to put a couple of those books on this list. And this one, I wanted to actually read it when we were still in Rhode Island, because this is set on Block Island, which is in Rhode Island. We never ended up making it over there while we were living there, but I just thought it would be cool to read that while we were living there. But of course, I didn't get to it in time, so it's okay. I'll read it now, but yeah, so that's on this list. Okay, coming over to the next row. A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This one makes me nervous because I am not hearing good things about this book. I've heard a couple good things. A couple people have liked it, but most people have not. And so I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I think enough time has passed between when this was published and everybody was hyping it up and everyone was so excited, and new Hunger Games book, and yes. This is a prequel novel that follows President Snow, and I believe it follows him when he was a teenager. So I just haven't heard the greatest things, but I think enough time has passed that I'm ready to get back into it. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. Okay, next one here is The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. I have not read a book by Kate Morton yet. And I think I have 5 of her books, because I have a feeling she's going to be a favorite author as well. And this one was also sent to me from Lindsay for our Christmas book exchange. So I'm excited to get into this when I pick it up, but it will be happening here very soon. And yeah, I believe this is dual timelines and a good historical fiction. That's all I really know. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think maybe a crime happens at someone's house and it's like a revisiting type thing. So that's all I really know. I'm going to go into it a little bit blind, but I just have a feeling that Kate Morton could definitely be an author that I really love if I would just give her a chance. So I'm going to give her a chance. Okay, the next one is by an author that I do know that I love, and that is Claire Legrand. This is Lightbringer, and this is the 3rd book in the Emperium trilogy. So this would finish off a trilogy for me, which would be amazing. Claire Legrand, again, is one of my favorite authors. I absolutely love her books. I read the first 2 of these. The first one was Furyborn. The second one was Kingsbane. Loved Furyborn, enjoyed Kingsbane. So we'll see how it ends up and kind of what happens. But I'm definitely excited to read this. This is a beast, but I don't think it'll take me that long because it is young adult. So I think it'll go a little bit a little bit quicker than some of the adult fantasies that I have on this list, but definitely want to finish this off and see what it's all about. Okay, last one, Sarah J. Maas. This is House of Earth and Blood, and I have been wanting to read this ever since I bought it, which was earlier this year in like January or February. I pre-ordered this one. And I haven't read it yet. I had it in my mind that I wanted to finish Throne of Glass first. I have one more book in Throne of Glass. But then I was like, but why? They're different. They're different, I was going to say different genres, but I mean, this is more of an urban fantasy where Throne of Glass is like a high fantasy. And this one is like more urban fantasy. Different types of creatures. This is an adult book. Throne of Glass is young adult, I would say maybe new adult, getting towards the end, to be honest with you. It gets more adult as it goes on, but they're different. So like I'm not going to run that risk of being confused or mixing up her characters or anything. These are completely new people. So I don't have to finish Throne of Glass first. I can go into this one and it's totally fine. This is book number 1 in her new series. And book number 2 was just announced, and the cover, oh, you guys, it's so beautiful. So that one comes out in February. So I would love to read this so that I can probably pre-order that one right away and get that in February and read that next year. So I don't know why I've been putting this off so much, but I want to read it, which is why it went on this list. It was like, I'm going out on this list. It doesn't matter where I am with anything else. I want to read this book. So, and then this one will fulfill a buzzword for the elements because it has Earth in the title. So I'm going to go ahead and count that for the elements. So I'm excited. Those are the books that are in this basket that is sitting on the floor by my bed with the books that I need to read for the rest of my 21 books I want to read in 2021. Okay, books for our book of the month book list. We picked 5 books in the beginning of the year, like I said, and wanted to read them over the course of the year and then follow up. I've only read 2 of those. So these other 3 are on the list. I pulled them off of my book of the month shelf. So the first one is One to Watch. This is by Kate Stayman London. This is a contemporary book that follows a plus-size woman who is invited to be on a bachelorette type of reality show. And so she goes on there and determined not to fall in love. And of course, she's going to fall in love, right? So I'm excited to read this. It's been staring at me for a while, and every time I see it, I want to read it. So I'm finally going to do it. And I think this would be a good, nice contemporary to kind of break up some of the big fantasy books I have. I have a lot of fantasy on this list. I'm kind of realizing as I'm touching them all, I'm like, oh, lots of fantasy, which is fine. That's what I'm in the mood for. But I think this will be a good kind of like break it up type thing. The next one is a fantasy. That is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. The second book is coming out soon of this one as well. And I think it's a duology. So I think book number 2 is coming out here soon. But this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that is set in the 1920s in Shanghai. So it involves like street gangs, and the 2 leaders of the street gangs are falling in love. So yeah, I think it's fantasy. I think there's some magical elements in here from what I am remembering, but yeah, so I'm excited for this one. And then the third one, definitely fantasy, that is Legendborn. This is by Tracy Dion. This is a young adult book that follows a girl who is going to college, and she finds out that there's magical powers and that they directly relate to her. She has some. There's some stuff happening from her family that she didn't realize. And I believe it's a little bit of an Arthurian, like Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table retelling in here as well. There's some elements of that in here too. So I've heard so many good things about this book, and I'm excited to read it. So this is on that list as well. Okay, I have 2 more books that are 5-star predictions for me that I need to read still. These are on my Kindle because these are NetGalley books. So the first one is The Girl He Used to Know. And this is by Tracy Garvis Graves. I've been wanting to read another book by her. I really loved her book On the Island, loved it. And so this is going to be my second book that I'm reading by her. I've heard really, really good things about this one. I know that Lindsay really loved it. And if Lindsay loved it, I'm probably going to love it too. I don't fully know the premise of this off the top of my head. I believe it is a relationship kind of rediscovering itself after some time between a man and a woman, and just how much at least this woman has changed and what that means for their relationship going forward. I think it's something like that. So it's a contemporary book, but I've heard really good things. It's not super long, so there's that one. And then I have Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall. I cannot wait to read this. I can't believe I haven't done it yet, but I read Alexis Hall's book, Boyfriend Material, last year, and it was in my top 10. I love that book. There's a sequel coming out called Husband Material that I'm very anxious to get my hands on. And I love his writing and just the relationship, at least in Boyfriend Material that he wrote, was a male-male relationship. And it was the most adorable thing ever. I just was swooning listening to that book. I absolutely loved it. So I really want to get more into Alexis Hall's work. And then, this is his newest one right now. And this follows a woman who goes on a baking reality show. Hello. And she's there for the money. She needs the money. And she's like bound and determined not to get distracted. And I think there's a little bit of a love triangle in this one as well between her and two other people on the set. So I really, really want to read this one. I'm probably going to end up listening to it because I listened to the other one by him and I really loved the audiobook of that. This is a different narrator for this book, but I think I'm going to listen to it anyway. But I just think it's going to be juicy and I can't wait. It's going to be great. Okay, and two more, and then I'm done. I'll give you a final count at the end of how many books I need to read before the end of the year. But these are two books that will fulfill the buzzwords for the other 2 months that I need to make up for here. So the first one is The Lost for Words Bookshop, the word lost. And this is by Stephanie Butland. And this one was sent to me from Krista for our Christmas book exchange. And this is going to be a shorter one as well that I can get into. I have heard this is heavy though. She went into this one expecting it to be kind of light and fluffy. It's set in a bookshop, but she's like, oh no, this deals with some heavy topics. And she just wasn't expecting that. So I'll go into it with those expectations that it's going to, it's not going to be super light and fluffy, but I think it's something that I can probably get through quickly anyway. And can you with this cover? It's so cute. I don't know the details. I know it's set in a bookshop and that's all I'm going to know. And the last one, the word is dark. And for this one, I got into a conversation with my friend Audrey over at Chapter and Converse. I'll leave her down below. But we were talking about like the buzzwords and stuff. And then I was saying, I need to kind of like make up a little bit because I kind of fell off the last couple of months. I said, I need something with the word dark. And if you watch Audrey's channel, you know that one of her taglines is dark and messed up people doing dark and messed up things. That's what she loves. If you want thriller recommendations, she's your girl. She loves thrillers. She loves dark books. So I was talking to her about that and I was like, I need a book with the word dark in the title. And I was like, I'm talking to somebody who would be the perfect person to recommend something to me. So I went through my shelves. I wrote down every single book that I had the word dark in the title, and I sent it to her and I said, you pick. Yeah. And the only book on that list that she had read and can really, really recommend, and she said it was amazing, is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. So this is another nonfiction following another serial killer, just like Helter Skelter. And this is the hunt for the Golden State Killer. Now, what makes this one interesting is that Michelle McNamara spent a lot of time studying this person, the Golden State Killer, who is something they dubbed, who was never caught. But she was on a mission to try to figure out who this man is. And so a lot of research went into this. And, this is following all the things that she was uncovering and doing all these things. So she was really big into this case and trying to find out who this person is. And unfortunately, Michelle McNamara passed away before this book was finished and before the Golden State Killer was found and arrested. And he's caught now. So that's sad, but I still want to read this because I have heard it's really, really good. And, I've heard a couple things about the book just to kind of be aware of, it can sometimes feel a little disjointed because her research team finished the book for her because she passed before it was done. And from what I hear, you can kind of tell that. So I'm going to be kind of expecting that going into this one. But yeah, so I'm really excited to read this. I picked this up when I went to Savannah in 2018 with my best friend. So time to read it, right? 3 years later, that's fine. But so this is going to be my pick for the word dark for the buzzwords. And thank you, Audrey, for picking it for me. Okay, that's 23 books. for the rest of the year. And we're already halfway through October. So that's a lot, I think. And some of these are long, and that's kind of what's making me a little bit nervous. Like House of Earth and Blood is big, and Cress and Winter are big, and Red Sister is big, and Stephen King is always big. And Lightbringer is big. Like there's some thick books on this stack. So it's okay. It's a challenge. I am ready for it. I am here for it. I'm excited about it. When I am talking about these books, I'm getting really excited to read them and pick them up. So it's making me just want to go read right now. And I think that's what I'm going to go do because I have some work ahead of me, but it's good work. I'm really excited about them. Okay, those are my plans for the rest of the year. Wish me luck. I hope I can get them all done. I'm going to need to prioritize a little bit, but that's totally fine. And let me know down below if you guys have read any of these. What should I pick up first? I definitely have like a couple categories I need to kind of concentrate on before anything else, but let me know what you think I should pick up really soon. And I would be excited to know that. Okay, I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.